Hi, I'm Jen with Evolve HR Group, and I'm here with Tracy, one of our consultants, and she is here to talk to us today about community engagement and why it matters for organizations and employees. So, Tracy, could you give us a little bit of background and all that you do to support your local community?
Yes, hi Jen. So my name is Tracy Neer. I am a consultant with Evolve HR Group, but I also am involved in a lot of 501(c)(3) nonprofit organizations. I do a lot of volunteer work, and I've worked for a lot of organizations that have offered volunteer programs or community outreach programs to their employees to participate in throughout the year. So I am very passionate about it, and I love to see the different ways that organizations or companies put together the different programs that they offer.
Awesome. You are a great person to talk to. I know this is a big part of like what you do. So, all right, first question I have for you. Why should organizations invest in community engagement?
That is so important. So the communities that we serve are the communities that our employees live in, right? They raise their families there. You may be doing volunteer work for a local school that actually has some of your family's children in there. They build their lives there. So they invest, investing in the communities is not just the right thing to do, but it also is a huge investment into the people because they're seeing the outcomes. So I think it's a huge, huge thing for companies to do.
Right. What benefits have you seen for
So this is such a big one. So volunteering gives them the opportunity to cross collaborate. They're going to meet new people within the organization. They're going to connect with people that they may work for the same company, but they don't see each other on a day-to-day basis. And they're building relationships not just with those folks, but also with the people from the group that they're volunteering with. And so it really just gives a sense of purpose that carries back into the workplace once they're back. And so they may run into that person as they're, going to lunch or something and say, hey, wait, we volunteered together. Might have been someone they never talked to before.
employees?
So
Yes, that's so important. Okay, what about the business? What benefits have you seen for the businesses?
So what I'm seeing across the board for the businesses is really building a stronger network, a stronger teamwork amongst their employees. So higher employee pride and stronger reputation in the community. And it might be something that they go someplace and they see an organization that they had volunteered for, and they're like, oh wait, we helped make this happen, or this is something that we worked harder for. There was one company where we planted in a downtown urban area, we planted all kinds of trees, right, to kind of make it a homier feel because a lot of trees were removed due to different storms and things. So I think we planted 70 trees in one day. It was so crazy. But every time I drive by there now, even though I'm no longer with that company, I see those trees, right? And it's a reminder to me that that is something that we did for the community and gave back.
Oh, great. Um, has it influenced culture, engagement, or retention at all?
Oh, absolutely. So when employees see that their company is living its values and missions and things like that, it just grows trust. It creates a culture where people feel connected to something bigger than their job. So alone, it doesn't solve retention issues, but it certainly strengthens employee engagement and the feeling of belonging.
Great, I agree. Okay, so do you recommend focusing on one specific organization or multiple? And can you explain that philosophy?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the things that I've seen is that companies are kicking it off within their organization and they are starting small. So maybe they decide to call Gleaners and they go as an entire group to Gleaners and they do some sorting and all that kind of good stuff. But as time grows, and their program grows within their organization, they have the opportunity to say, okay, what organizations matter to our employees? So what I've seen happen is they start out small or they start out with maybe a handful of organizations that they come and give back to and volunteer for. And then as years pass and they grow in this program, then they can start saying, hey, Jen, what organization matters to you? And do you want to take, a couple coworkers to this nonprofit and volunteer for them in whatever capacity that they need? And this just allows the employees to really jump in and be hands-on with something that they're passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So I think that both ways are good, but I really liked it when I start seeing these programs evolve with different companies and they grow into that space. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yes, that absolutely makes sense. So once you start volunteering, that you start letting them support causes that are more meaningful to them.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I'm assuming, so how does that affect participation?
It absolutely has grown that I've seen over companies that I've done this with. Participation may be super small if you're doing, one, two, maybe three different nonprofits. It might not be something that is near and dear to their heart. So they kind of pass up on the opportunity thinking something else might come along. But then when you put it out there, hey, if you know of a not for profit that you would like to volunteer for and go and help out, please bring that to us. We will make sure that they fall under the 501(c)(3) category. And absolutely, you can go by yourself. You can go and take some of your teammates with you, and it'll work as their volunteer time.
Awesome. Okay, so how do employees or organizations find these volunteer opportunities?
Oh, there's so many out there. So many. You can absolutely do a Google search as to what is out there for your local area or your zip code. You can start looking up just local not for profits in, for us, maybe the Indianapolis area or the Greenwood area, and they will have different organizations that come up, and you can simply call and say, hey, do you have volunteer needs that are out there? Or we have a program with our company and we really want to get involved with different organizations. What do you have that I could offer to our employees, to allow them to come and volunteer for you? So
Great. Okay. So I know you talked about starting small with your team, but do you also see people going out and doing this individually, or is it mostly teams?
so I in all of the companies that I've been with, it has been all different. All different, every because the companies I've been with have been all different sizes.
Mhm.
And so what I've seen a lot of is, some companies, they'll have their teams will do it as like a team building event. So they may go work at, Dress for Success for a day, and it might just be, a team of 10 that go together. You may have it to where you send it out to the entire company. You might go to like a Gleaners and take, a team of 50 people and go and volunteer. And then you may have the one-offs to where you have somebody who wants to go in and do some work for like a local school, education foundation, and they want to go in for a day and do a volunteer event. It might just be them, or it might be them and one other person that they want to invite in to see what that organization does.
Okay.
So that
So
one's kind of all over the board. It really
yeah.
just depends.
Okay. Okay. So how do organizations give employees flexibility to do these different activities or volunteering activities?
So yeah, so as I've seen them grow, I've seen a lot of companies go in and start giving. They have their PTO budget, obviously, but then they also have a volunteer hour. So a lot of companies start out small and they'll do 8 hours, which can be divided into, must be taken in like increments of 4 hours, right? So you're going to volunteer for 4 hours one day and maybe 4 hours another day, or maybe one of the events is like a full 8 hours of volunteering, and they get that over the course of a year. I've seen companies grow into doing it for 16 hours, which for some folks, that would be like 4 separate events throughout the year. But just having that in the budget so that they have the opportunity to volunteer, and then they're also still being paid for it. Because I think that that's a big thing as well for employees.
Hmm. Okay. Um, so do these programs require much of a budget?
No, they do not. That's the best part. You do have the budget of obviously paying for time off, but time is often more valuable than money. So more volunteer opportunities costs, very little, but have tremendous impact on both the community and the employees. One of the things that we did at a lot of the companies that I've worked for is, we have like volunteer shirts. So on the days that we're going out and volunteering, we're wearing these specific volunteer shirts for the company that we work for. So that's kind of an advertisement too, saying, hey, such and such company is in volunteering for this event. And then that helps raise awareness for the company. And then the company is also raising awareness for the not for profit. So I mean, it's kind of a win-win.
Good, good, good. How do you gain leadership support?
Okay, so getting the leaders involved in this is really good because it's connecting volunteerism to the business outcome. So your goals for the year. So talk about employee engagement, leadership development, community relationships, recruiting, and company culture. So like when you're out there and you're recruiting for your company and you can put the option of, 8 or 16 volunteer hours, people really see that as a huge piece of their benefits package. So when leaders see the impact on people, support usually follows. So
Okay. And how do you know your program is working?
look at the participation. That's the big one. We talked about participation a little bit a few questions back, and just looking at as the program grows, are we getting more participation? Are we getting less participation? What do we need to tweak? That's how you're going to know if it's working. So participation, employee feedback, repeat involvement. So, Meals on Wheels is a big one. And a lot of organizations will do that depending on their size, will do that on a weekly basis. And so they'll have 2 or 4 volunteers go out. So if you have people who are, signing up each week and you're not searching for volunteers, you know that your program's working. So the relationship that you're building with the community partners. It's not just measured by success, by numbers though. It's measured by impact as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other metrics besides participation, or is that the main one?
I would say that and employee feedback.
Employee feedback. Is there any employee
Yeah.
feedback that has surprised you?
We did have some employee feedback in one of the first companies that I worked for that we did some volunteer work for. And that is when we started expanding into allowing people to help us decide what organizations or not profits that we went and worked with. They were, specifically maybe against one or it wasn't what they supported and they wanted to come up with a way to be able to take part in the volunteer program, but also not also be able to give feedback as to who they would like to volunteer for. So that helped us grow the program as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there any stories that really illustrate the impact?
So I can give a few personal stories that have just been amazing for us, as we're going through in doing the volunteer opportunities with the different companies that I work for. Habitat for Humanity is one of my favorites that we've done. You're going in and you're actually building a home for somebody that needs this home. And the fact that they come in and work with you to build this, because this is where this is their safe house, right? This is their safe haven for their family. This is where they are going to come together. They're going to have meals, and to see them watch this house unfold. I mean, I'll get emotional over this, but it's just an amazing, amazing feeling. And then one of the biggest ones for me too is that I used to do Meals on Wheels for a company that I worked for, and we did it on Fridays. I usually did it like twice a year, and I was in an apartment complex and I was delivering, and I came across somebody who was sleeping like in the stairwell of the apartment complex. And I knew that they didn't live there, right? Because you could tell that they were just looking for a warm place to sleep. And so we were able to kind of talk through things with them, give them some contact information on how to find, a place to stay, how to find resources to help them get by and get back on their feet. And it was a great conversation that we had. I felt like I built a relationship with this person in the hour that we stood there talking. And my heart went out to them. But at the same time, I felt so good about walking away because we had given them so many resources that they could immediately take advantage of. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. I've personally done Habitat for Humanity before too. And I mean, I haven't even
such a
seen the
good feeling.
owners, but even just the process and the team building and everything else that goes with it.
Yeah. And a lot of painting.
Yeah, yeah.
Habitat for Humanity has a lot of painting.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, what is one piece of advice that you'd give an HR leader who wants to start a program?
I would give them the advice to reach out to somebody else that's doing it. So many other companies are doing it. Some are doing it really well, some of it maybe not so well. I just think the collaboration piece of it with a company that is doing it extremely well is huge because it'll allow you to know where to start. If you need to take baby steps, where are you at organization wise? Like, do you have 20 employees? Do you have 2,000 employees? What does that look like? But making sure, I think the most important piece is once you get everything together, is making sure that it happens. So a lot of the companies that I've worked for in the past have had a designated person that is our community outreach person. They usually fall under our PR roles, and they are our community outreach person, and they help connect the nonprofit to the company, what volunteer activities are out there that can be taken advantage of, and how do we get people in, like what does it look like when we're advertising this, and making sure we're pushing it out to our employees. We don't want to say we have a volunteer program out there, we give you 16 hours a year to use, but then we never talk about it again. In some
Right.
organizations, that's how it goes. But the ones that are doing really, really well, they push it out there, they get out there, and their leadership. I think leadership involvement is so important because that just emphasizes the meaning of community feedback from the company to its employees, right? If you're out there and you're planting trees and the CEO and the CFO are out there with you, that's amazing, right? Like those
Mhm.
kind of connections are great. And you're building that relationship in an environment that's not specifically in the office. And it doesn't have to be business related. So you're getting to know people on a different level. So I think that that's super important.
Mm-hmm. Great. What's one thing leaders often overlook?
It's not just about serving the community, it's also leadership development. It's employees building communication and teamwork. It's empathy. It's problem solving skills while volunteering. So there's times when you're volunteering in a specific nonprofit, and it might not just be as simple as painting walls for Habitat for Humanity, right? You may have to figure out how these corners align when we've got a bow in the bush. I mean, simple things like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say simple things like that. And, just kind of working with the leadership again, and understanding that we can all work together, we can all give back to the community, and we can all build these relationships outside of the office walls.
Okay. Okay. If you could change one misconception about workplace volunteerism, what would it be?
That it's just a nice thing to do. Done well. It's a business strategy that strengthens culture, it develops employees, and creates stronger community relationships. I mean, it's just, again, going back to we offer it, but we
Hmm.
got to make sure that we back it and support it and grow it, right?
Right. Right. That's important too. So I appreciate your time. If anyone has any further questions or wants to reach out to Evolve HR Group or Tracy, please feel free to do so.